Values in an object, assigning values and key pairs in an object, creating objects. Today we're going to talk a little bit about looping through objects, seeing whether or not a key is in an object, and deleting things from objects. So, looping through an object. At first, you might think, well, we can just do like a for loop, like we do with an array. But arrays have the indices that we can point to go through each individual item in the array. With an object, we don't have the indices, so we have to find another way to go through it. And so this will be the for in loop that we're going to get lots of practice with today. So yeah, because the keys are unique to the values, we can use those keys to access every value within that object. And we don't necessarily need to know the names of these keys, as we'll see. First, if we just want to see if a property is even in an object, there's two main ways to check that. We can use the in operator or the hasOwnProperty method. The in will check, in this instance where we have this movie object, and we want to see if Aladdin, the key, is in Disney Movies, the object. Take note that the Aladdin is in quotes because keys are strings. I just got spooky. So we want to be able, or this will return a Boolean of true or false. So whether or not that key is in the string. The hasOwnProperty method is attached to every instance of an object, and that acts the exact same way as returning a true or false Boolean of whether or not that key is in the object, but we invoke it off of the object. So Disney Movies has the method hasOwnProperty, and you pass in the key that you're searching for. So we have this object friends, and it has a bunch of friends in it. Each of them, the value is an object that has both a name and some hobbies. So if we wanted to see, maybe this is somewhere else in our code, another file, and we want to just see if Joey is in this object of friends. So we can console log Joey in friends. And this will give us the Boolean true or false. And so it's true. We can, and if we console log if Ted is in friends, this should give us false because that's not one of the keys within the object. We don't necessarily have to put a string here. We can use variables within with the in keyword. So if we said var Joey is Joey, we can take this out of quotes. And it'll still give us the same answer. If we didn't have this, it would say Joey is not defined because it's looking for a variable named Joey. We can do, it doesn't have to be directly mapped, the variable, as we saw with bracket notation. If we have this to lowercase, it will evaluate whatever this variable is, or maybe it's a method that returns a name or your key or something. It will evaluate this and use that string to check if it's a key. Same with the hasOwnProperty. We can console log if friends.hasOwnProperty and pass in Chandler.to lowercase. And that'll give us true. Or this could just be Chandler. And it will give us true. But if we take off the quotes, we'll still get that same error we were getting before with this one, where it's looking for a variable named Chandler and it can't find it. Cool. Any questions on in or on hasOwnProperty? I wouldn't necessarily, you'll see as you're writing it, sometimes you'll feel like hasOwnProperty has a little bit more, is a little bit clearer of like what you're looking for. And we'll use in with this for in loop that we'll go over. So looping through an object. We can't use a while or for loop, as I was saying before, because there are no indices associated with it. Also, there's no length property on an object, so we can't say while the object has a length, because there is no length to it. I'm sure there's ways that you could like create it as a key value pair, but you would still have to do some sort of for in loop to be calculating the number of keys within your object. So we're going to use this for in loop. So the way it is similar to the for loop we use with the array, the keyword for, and then we have the parentheses of the looping mechanism, and then within the curlies is the code that will run for every iteration. The difference between this for loop and the array for loop is what's within the parentheses, and you declare variable var key in this example in, and then this is the object name, key bucket. So we're going to have this variable name as sort of the placeholder for what the key is. And so we'll be able to use it with bracket notation because it will be evaluated to whatever the key is as it iterates. One thing to note with for in loops is you'll generally, when doing it, get the same order back, just because if you got it once, that's probably how it's going to happen again. But the order is not guaranteed the way it is with an array. An array is an ordered list, and an object is an unordered list. So while you're looping through it, you can't be guaranteed that you'll get the same order every time, or keys will be in certain orders. So if that's important, make sure you have some way of keeping track of what should be first, second, third, or put it in an array. So we're going to, this is a little bit more up close of the for in loop. And we have access to this variable within the for in loop, but scope-wise, we don't have access to it outside of it. And this prop variable, the value will change every iteration. So it starts with prop being equal to A, and then it goes B and then C. So if we wanted to loop through the friends and console log out their names, we could do for var friend in friends. Let's for now just console log what friend is. This should be the key, so we should be getting this key string that we have in here. So we get Monica, Rachel, Phoebe, so on and so on, of the keys. So that's great, but that's not the name. We do have this name property. Maybe it's like first and last name or something like that. So we can grab that by using this key that's stored in the variable friend and accessing it in the object. So we can go var name is friends bracket friend. And we should console log out the name. And that is not right. Friends, bracket, friends, dot name. Forgot to grab the name of it. So it was returning this object, and it was too big of an object that the console just didn't want to log it. It was like, it's an object. Here you go. So this is the friend obj. And then if we want to get the name, var name is friend obj dot name. See if we can console log out the friend obj. I know we just tried it, but maybe it'll be okay with it this time. Yeah. Weird. So it's console logging out the object that is the value for each of these values or each of these keys. So to get the name, and as you can see, I can do bracket name to get the name of it like right away. But maybe I want to access multiple things off the friend obj, and I only want to grab that once. So I can grab the name. I could also grab var hobbies. And that should give us the array of hobbies for each of the friends. Yeah.
If you tried to access the real friend outside of this loop, would it still know that you're referring to every key sequentially in the object?
Great question. Because of scope, we're declaring friend here. We don't have access to it outside of the for loop.
Okay, so if I wanted to rename, I wanted to use some other loop outside of it.
Yeah.
Some loops over the keys, but maybe get something else or whatever reason.
Yeah.
Would it be bad practice to also establish it again as friend?
That's totally fine, and I would say it's good practice because you're being consistent with your names and you're expecting the same value back. And so let's do that. You're expecting the same value back, so naming it the same, it won't cause problems because it's in different scopes. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Having two for loops not nested but next to each other using I is totally safe and good practice because it's the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, so when you use a for in an array, it's grabbing the key, and in an array instance, the key is the index of 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, great question. You use it, you know this because the brackets, you're accessing the value with the brackets, and with an array, you use bracket indice. With the object, you use bracket and then the key. Great question. So var hobbies is friends, bracket, friend, bracket, hobbies. So this should log out the hobbies for us. Cool. One thing to note, if we do dot friend, does anyone know what will happen if we use the dot notation with the variable friend instead of bracket notation?
Won't it look for friend in quotes as the string in the object?
Exactly, yeah. So it's going to look through this object and see if there's a key that has the string friend. I think it is going to throw an error because friend obj is now undefined. So let's see. Yeah, can't read property name of undefined. Exactly what we expect. And because friend is a variable, we don't have to wrap it in quotes. It would give us the same thing of looking for friend, the key. Any other questions on this? Cool. Remember, object keys are always strings. So if we console logged out the type of the variable that we define in our for in loop, that will give us a string every time. So looping through an object, here's another example using the Disney movies. So if we wanted to loop through it and say when the movie was released on, in this instance it's using the key as part of the console log of Toy Story was released on November 22nd, 1995. And it'll loop through and do that for each one. Again, it could be in any order. The last thing we're going to go over today is the delete operator for objects. I don't use this one much because normally you are looking up a certain thing, or when you're looping over it, you can do conditional checks, but maybe you decide your users all have like a score for their favorite Pokemon, and you decide we're going to pivot, we're not going to deal with Pokemons anymore, we want to get rid of that data to clean up our objects. You can go through and delete every Pokemon score for your users. So if we wanted to remove Ross from this between console logging the name and console logging the hobbies, so if we delete Ross here, we should see all this stay the same, all the names, but we shouldn't see the array dinosaurs and divorce as console logged out. So if we do friends.delete and you pass in either the string, you say delete friends dot, and you can say Ross with dot notation, or you can say delete friends. Maybe we want to also delete Rachel. They run off together. Finally, happy ever after. So in this case, we'll be getting rid of both dinosaurs and divorce and fashion and coffee. Cool. So you can use dot notation or bracket notation just like you would access when you're looking up or assigning a key value pair, but this you have delete and then you have space, then accessing, looking up what you want to delete. Okay, any questions on deleting or looping? Okay, cool.